Hey, what's up? It's your man, Greg Merriweather. Welcome to the Unmitigated Truth. This is going to be a good show. I had to help Pastor Greene figure out how he's going to get online. Listen, y'all, I'm trying to get him. He's showing his age today. That's my guy, though. But no, this is going to be an exciting show, man. We are going to talk with Pastor Greene. He is running for office, man, and he's got some competition. This is going to be a good race in District 29. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen. We're going to hear from him firsthand what he plans to do, the move that he's making. I'm sure he's going to definitely enlighten us about all of this. So listen, sit back, relax. It's time for the Unmitigated Truth. Let's get going. Good afternoon, Indianapolis. Welcome to the Unmitigated Truth, the most unapologetic, unfiltered, and undeniable conversation happening anywhere in the Midwest. I'm your host, Greg Merriweather, and today we are diving into faith, politics, leadership, and the future of Indiana. Today's guest is not just a man of the cloth, but a man stepping into the political arena. He is the pastor of Purpose of Life Ministries right here in Indianapolis, and now a candidate for Indiana State Senate District 29, Pastor David Greene. Now, listen, this race is not about, this is not happening in a vacuum. He's facing competition in the May 5th Democratic primary from Demetrice Hicks, Kristina Moorhead, Kevin Short. So today, we're going to get into it, the calling, the policies, the pressure, and the purpose. Pastor Greene, welcome to the Unmitigated Truth.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I appreciate you, Mr. Merriweather, and your patience and letting me get in delay things a bit. But I appreciate that. I was running from something else, and but I'm glad to be here. Glad to be a part of the Unmitigated Truth.
My man, always good to see you, man. So listen, I want you to let's get to it. So I'm glad you're here. We're gonna start before politics, before campaigning, all this. Who is Pastor David Greene?
Pastor David Greene is, I came to Indianapolis in 1985, working for IBM, systems engineer, got a computer science background. So I had an opportunity to interact with a lot of our large organizations here in the city back then, banks, Lilly's, Cummins, the work, spent a lot of time, quote unquote, in data centers back then.
Oh, yeah.
That was my job. That was my job. So, and then along the path, the Lord led me into ministry. So I've been at Purpose of Life now for 30 years, been married for 41 years, been in Pike Township for 30 years. My kids graduated from Pike. And part of what I do also is I'm a mental health first aid trainer for adults. That's kind of my passion. But most of all, and I've been president of the Concerned Clergy now for 10 years. But most of all, I just serve people, and for me, it's about the community. So that's really been my focus. If you follow me at all, you'll be like, yeah, he's about the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we've done quite a bit of work together. So yeah, you've been out here for, I ain't gonna say I don't want to say long, but you've been active. Let's say that. I don't want to call you old.
No, I got some experience though.
So yes. So let's get to it, Pastor. Thank you for answering that. So at what point did you say it's time to just not be in the pulpit, go beyond the pulpit and into public office?
Well, for me, it was, with Senator JD Ford moving on, and I was looking at so many issues in the state of Indiana. And I said, this is not just a political issue, it's a moral issue. And I felt like this was not a time, silence was not an option. You know me well enough to know I've engaged in a number of issues in the past, so it's not new for me.
Right.
When I looked at the condition, I'm a pastor. I'm seeing seniors who have to pick between meals and medicine. And for me, that was a moral issue. We have a Purpose of Life Academy to have working parents who are doing what's right, but don't have access to CCDF vouchers. That's a moral issue.
Sure.
when we take our public schools and we don't fund them properly, yet we want teachers to do more with less. We want them to pass reading in the third grade. That's a moral issue.
Mhm.
When you got working families out here, the ones, there are a number of families that are doing the right things, Greg.
Yeah.
Yet they can't necessarily stay housed. That's a moral issue.
Yeah.
And when you get to the LEAP project and things that are threatening our natural resources, it's a moral issue.
Yeah.
Backbreaker for me, because I work with the homeless, is you're going to take somebody who falls on hard times, criminalize them, and say, hey, you got a $500 fine. We're going to give you a C misdemeanor. For me, that's a moral issue. And so I couldn't be silent. I said, hey, I'm going to put it in the hands of the people, but I'm looking at it through a moral lens. I want to challenge people to say, well, wait a minute now. How do you do that? How did some of these things that come out of our General Assembly are mean-spirited at the core?
I agree.
And I just feel like you can't be silent about that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Thank you for that. So let's do this. So you're running for Indiana State Senate District 29. Why this seat and why now?
One, it's part of Pike, Wayne, West Carmel, Zionsville, Boone County. I think we need a representative who brings that type of moral lens to the table, that will challenge the system, who has experience in doing that it won't be like, it's not like Greene has never done it.
Right.
Greene has done it. Now he's just saying, hey, community, let's put him at the table there to do it. And in doing that, and again, I don't believe it can be done in isolation. I believe it's done in collaboration, but you got to come back to the unmitigated truth and say, here's what's happening, people.
Yeah.
This is where we are, and build that collaboration to make changes and difference. Because too many things, in my opinion, are being done in the dark at the last minute. Kind of like the LEAP project is an example. It's like, wait, there's a whole, Wabash up here declined it, but the next thing you know, it's going to happen in Eagle Creek, and it's last minute. But I just believe people knew about it. They just don't say anything about it until that train is on the track and moving.
Can you explain to the viewers about the LEAP project?
The LEAP project is a deal where they're going to take 25 million gallons of water a day, send it up to Lebanon, up there, and then send their wastewater back to Eagle Creek and drop it. And because Eagle Creek is not a river, so it's not going to be running and moving.
Right.
Dropping wastewater into Eagle Creek, they're going to say, okay, this has been treated, Pastor. Okay, but I would say to all our listeners, do you believe there's never been an environmental accident that occurred? I mean,
right.
A crack in a pipe or anything? Is that what we want to take a chance on? And they're going to drop the wastewater in Eagle Creek and not keep it up in Lebanon? I mean, so things like Eagle Creek are our natural resources, et cetera, and just our water system as in total, we need to defend that. We need to protect that, because who's drinking this stuff?
Right.
That's coming back to us. Now, I understand why the people up in Lebanon will say, oh, yeah, I'm cool with sending the wastewater down there. Yeah, because they ain't got to deal with it. But we should be concerned about it. Again, those are types of deals where I think a lot of times it's happening and we don't know about it until the 9th hour. So we're always fighting uphill, if you will, because we're not, because there's a number of things going on. This is one example. We could talk about education and what's recently happened with IPS, that whole thing. There's a lot of things that I would say are an example, but I used the LEAP thing. I brought that up. So
Sure. Okay. We'll roll with that. So here's you and I talk. We've talked. So I'm asking this not for me, but for the people. So some people will say pastors should stay out of politics. It's funny. I say this, Pastor. I was with, I'm gonna say his name, but I was with him. I hung out with him for a minute. I was with the Lieutenant Governor, Micah Beckwith, And we talked about this, and he gave me an interesting perspective because he's also a pastor. But some people say pastors should stay out of politics. What do you say to that?
I say that, pastors, we need to be much more engaged in the political process for the good of our people, because you need representation. I think when we consider like the civil rights movement, a number of things like that were highly successful, pastors was a big part of that. And I believe that in this season, in this era where we find ourselves, we have to engage these processes. I think it's all hands on deck. Now, I don't believe it's the faith-based community alone. I believe in the collaborations. I believe in faith-based along with other non-for-profits, along with all the other, because we need all hands on deck and not some hands on deck, because some people frequent the faith-based institutions, the church, and they need some guidance on what the heck is happening. This needs to become a place where we're communicating. I mean, and I think, given like what's just recently happened in IPS, well, pastors owe it to be trying to inform their parishioners, hey, this is what's happening. Here's the things you need to be aware of. And it's not just IPS, because this thing is going to spread, informing those outside IPS to say, hey, this is going on, and you don't know who's going to be next, so that we're not always behind the 8 ball before we're looking to respond. They're having conversations now. Yeah. They're not over here thinking, while we're talking about LEAP, they're planning something else, LEAP 2.0 somewhere in terms of education. They're planning the next move. IPS is the first ball to drop, but they got balls 2, 3, and 4 that they're talking about right now. And you come down to childcare, healthcare, pick the topic. They are planning something, and we got to be able to. One of my colleagues once said, "An uninformed prophet is dangerous." We don't need a bunch of uninformed prophets. This is a season where you need to understand it. We may engage in it differently, different ways, but I think it's important that we have at least a moral voice at the table. Okay. That's what I would say.
Okay, cool. Who is this? Antonio Alexander says, good afternoon. Thanks, Pastor Greene, for your community service. Just wanted to make sure I put that out there. So they say, I love that answer. So this isn't about, so for you, this isn't about politics. Is it more about purpose?
It's definitely about purpose. And I'm too old to be a career politician. So for me, it's about paving the way for others. It's about, hey, can we awaken and, get on a path, at least slow this train down, begin to do some things positive for our community. It's about wanting my grandchildren and others not to feel like, and even my children, if we keep this up, do they stay in Indiana? I love it that, Greg Merriweather's here, but man, he can get to a point and say, man, bounce. I ain't going to hang out with this. Somewhere else. And I see a lot of people, young, talented people. And if you're a minority Black person, like, why are you staying in Indiana now? Let me hear this again. And we've got to do some things and do it better in order for even them to stay, to have the opportunity to stay. I mean, can you be a young person graduating college here? How far are you away from home ownership? If you won't, you're doing right. You are not a criminal, and ain't none of that to deal with. How do you get there?
Yeah.
I mean, we're making it very, very difficult, in my mind, for people that you should want, talented people that you want to stay.
Agreed. I think that India is becoming more and more challenging. And agreed. I think that legislation, there's a lot of mean legislation, man, that you just see, and it baffled me when you can see, even for stuff to get on the table, when you see death by firing squad on the table, it just baffles me how that even gets there in 2026. So I'm just looking at this and I'm like, man, there's some stuff. And then the other part is like, are we paying attention? It's one thing to look and say, Pastor David Greene is there, but are we paying attention enough to say I'm supporting Pastor David Greene if he's there. So it's like, it's twofold. It's like we got to get more involved, because I think that the narrative can be changed with our involvement. But as long as we standing on the sidelines, I think it's a totally different ball game. So yeah, I agree. But I think that we got to collectively be involved in the political game. So let's talk about the real issues affecting District 29. So you've got crime, public safety, you've got education, you've got economic development, and healthcare access. Can you briefly touch on those and just explain to us your perspective and your plan with those things?
Okay, let me start with the core. For me, it's around affordability. So it's around the money pieces of it, the economic development.
Sure.
I think I leave public safety last, because if you don't address those other items you just mentioned, healthcare, et cetera,
sure,
then you're going to have public safety issues.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my platform's built on affordability first. Everybody that I talk to is talking about life has gotten far too expensive. They're trying to figure out how to make it. And I'm talking about across, whether that's Claremont, whether that's Pike, whether that's Zionsville, whether that's even West Carmel, because everybody wants to maintain their lifestyle, Greg. And so when they go to looking at, my homeowner's insurance went up, my utilities are certainly unstable, my grocery prices are up, my gas prices are going through the roof at the moment. Everybody's feeling a pinch regardless of where they live at, because they got to top in on that income and those expenses are coming. So we're going to have to address that, those type of situations. And like childcare is expensive. So people are like, okay, and then over 200 childcares are closed. Do I even have access for some people? So those things matter from an economic position and have to be dealt with. Healthcare is continuing to climb. That feeds the affordability issue as well. And literally, we do have seniors, am I buying my groceries or am I
cutting my medicine?
Well, yeah, and I'm cutting my medicine in half, right? So I'm cutting my medicine in half, but that's really not wise, because we're going to lead to other health issues, because they really should be taking that whole pill. But because of money, I'm taking half of it and hoping that I don't get sick anymore. So all of those things are certainly dangerous and bad. Education continues to be a key for everybody. Most people want great public schools. And the latest legislation has put most of our schools in a jam, because they all have a shortfall. And they got to say, how am I going to address that shortfall? Most of which is a number of our schools are already looking at referendums. You got 44 schools in the state of Indiana that have a referendum on the ballot in November.
Wow.
Because they're trying to say, we got to make up for this. So, I mean, that's just another tax, right? If you simplify that down. So everybody's like, and I think people want to support the schools, but they also say, if I'm planning on living where I'm living, how much more can I take?
Right.
I don't think anybody's like anti-children or any of that. I just think they think, what am I going to do now? How do I make this make sense? Even though we need to pay this so we can pay our teachers and staff, et cetera. A lot of our schools have already cut staff members too. So we're going to have to get back to addressing those type of concerns. Now, what is different, I want to drop this in right here, is I do have a plan and thought to how you do it.
Okay.
I believe the redistricting piece taught us something about how to be successful if you build in terms of coalitions.
Yeah.
That was successful because it was a broad range of a coalition. It was not done with one group, one person. It wasn't done through screaming and yelling. It was coalition building. So you had people in rural areas who were against it for maybe one reason. And then, a black person may have a different reason why they were against it. And in some of the suburbs had a different reason why they're against it. But what we were all together on is we're against it. That's the way you're going to have to approach whether it's childcare, some of these other issues, is bringing together that coalition of people and saying, okay, like women advocacy groups, how y'all feel about childcare? They'll be in a certain place.
Okay.
But also, a chamber, you want a workforce, where y'all going to be in this? Because you're not going to have it if they got to stay home to take care of their children. Where you going to be? Faith-based community, where you going to be? I mean, I'd love to ask some of the faith-based people and say, hey, now where y'all at on this homelessness? What's it? What's that thing? Whatever your book is you got.
Yeah.
I will say, hey, now how are you supposed to feel about the least of those? And and pull those things together, because one of the things that is factual is that a lot of these legislators go to somebody's churches. I'd love for those legislators to see their pastor in a press conference talking about how they're supposed to care for the homeless and be like, now let's reconcile all this.
Man,
I think that's the kind of stuff we're going to have to do to be impactful, to make a difference, to say, okay, now, this is what you say, this is what your book says. Now, how do you reconcile all that from a moral perspective?
Yeah. So how do we fix education?
We're going to definitely have to fund it. We have to put your money where your mouth is in terms of fully funding it. And for me, it starts at pre-K, because I don't want to, if children are behind, they're going to be behind in, and how they're going to make that third grade mandate in passing I-read. So for me, it starts at childcare age. I believe we got to roll back that voucher system where somebody who's making $225,000 a year is getting a voucher for their child. We got to roll that back. If we got money to do that, that money should be going to the other end to get children in pre-K and get them ready to pass I-read in the third grade. So we got to dial that back down, take that away, if you will, remove it, whatever term you want to use. And we got to fund the other end of it to get children ready so they can pass I-read. Because all you're doing is adding stress to, I wouldn't want to be a third grade teacher, Greg. I mean, I applaud anybody that's doing it. Who wants to have all the pressure of your children better pass? Otherwise, they're going to think you're a bad person. And most people are not evaluating, well, how did that child walk into the classroom when July or August started? Were they on point at that time? Because a lot of those teachers are going to be asked to make up for where that child's not at and be ready to pass that. That's a whole bunch of pressure. I applaud all teachers. I love the teachers, and they're functioning in a high pressure environment at the moment.
Yeah, they are. They truly are. So I got a question. We'll read it really quickly. Good afternoon, Mr. Greene. What are your thoughts on Indiana's SJR1, which has passed through both the House and the Senate and will now be on the ballot for voters? SJR1 has primarily faced opposition from Democrats in previous sessions, but has now gained support from both Republicans and Democrats. Currently in Indiana, only murder and treason are considered non-bailable offenses. SJR1 would grant judges the authority to deny bail for any offense provided the prosecution presents sufficient, didn't give me all the rest, but I would say sufficient evidence. So when we look at this, SJR1 was through, it's the Senate Joint Resolution 1, is a proposed amendment to the Indiana Constitution passed by the General Assembly in 2026. This allows courts to deny bail to individuals deemed a substantial safety risk to the public. Currently restricted to murder or treason cases, this change would allow detention for more defendants, with voters set to decide the issue on the November 2026 ballot. What you got?
What I got is I'm going to go back to, I'm concerned that, first of all, we can't even elect our own judges. I want to start there. And so, because I am a very pro-democracy type person, I believe that Marion County should be electing, quote unquote, its own judges, as most counties in our state can do. When you start to overreach and then make decisions that predominantly apply to Marion County, I'm going to be against that, because I believe in democracy. So I start there. And then I would want, obviously everybody, I think, is in agreement. We want bad guys off the street.
Off the streets.
But what we don't want is we penalize somebody before they're convicted. That we say, okay, we just because you got accused of this is all the results of it, and we don't know they're guilty yet. Sure. Because now you're taking people who, many of which, based on the data, would be like, they ain't necessarily got great jobs in terms of livable wages. And they're subject to lose these jobs because so-and-so arrested them. This judge who doesn't face an election makes a decision for whatever his or her reason may be. A lot of people will get jammed up, and those people who get jammed up will be most likely Black people based on the system. Yeah. Not exclusively Black people, but many Black people.
Sure.
And so I want a fair and equitable situation. So, yeah, obviously you kill somebody, they already have that authority to do that.
Sure.
But I am deeply concerned about somebody arbitrarily, roll through a stop sign supposedly, and the next thing you know, they're jammed up. In addition, the person, our bail prices went up, right? So there's a new stipulation there. So can I even afford to get to the bail is an issue because it got raised. Mm-hmm. And now, I couldn't even get it. I mean, that's just putting people in a box, most of which will be Black people, and jamming them up. And I don't think that's fair when you have not been found guilty of the crime yet.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think there has to be that balance of there are people, judges already have that, prosecutors will be arguing that, but there are some other people over here. Does the homeless person they committed the crime, do they need all that?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because can the judge say, well, you've been homeless, man, I ain't even going to offer you bail or not. I'm just jamming you up some more and adding to your fees.
Yeah.
Is this what we're doing? Because somebody homeless could, they don't pay the fine, it's $500, or they don't show up to court. Guess what? They are homeless. That's a slippery slope. Right?
I think
show up to court. One thing to the other. I mean, you can be really messed up just because you fell on hard times.
Yeah,
in a mess. If we follow this system all the way out,
I don't like the deem bad for society. I mean, when you talk about a slippery slope, bad for society. It's like at some point, that can be very, very tough because there's a point in this country where we were bad for society just on our skin. And so when I look and I say, if I get a judge that just be like, I don't even like them, I'm bad for society being a good citizen, So when I look at this, it's like, that's very tough. I'm glad you asked that question, Brother Smith, because that's a good thought because you're seeing Indiana and the Midwest, unfortunately, are dealing with something, Pastor Greene, you from the South, my parents are from the South. So I was raised a little differently as it relates to racism. It was like my parents understood overt and out in the open racism. So, you go and you see a fountain and you see the restaurants and you see all this, you see the Klan. Indiana has grown, Black people in Indiana have grown accustomed to hidden racism, and they don't even really understand it. So now the way that the temperature of the country is going, you're seeing more overt racism in the Midwest. And so we're starting to see it in our legislation. We're starting to see it in all these different forms. And it's very difficult psychologically for us to grasp it, that this is real racism. You just wasn't seeing it the way it's done. But now that it's more overt, I think that there's a struggle in Indiana and the Midwest to know how to adjust to this type of racism. What's your thought on that?
I totally agree. I think we don't follow the whole picture. That's the reason why I started to address that question. I started with the fact that we don't elect judges. I mean, that's really only in predominantly Black counties.
Sure.
So that's racist.
That's racist.
Let's call that what that is. When you have these rules that only apply to Lake County and Marion County,
yeah,
that is racist.
That's racist.
That's racist. And so we tend to be somewhat. Some people are afraid to say that. So when you do this, or you can't look at those laws or suggestions in isolation. What you have to do is say, broaden that picture out.
Yeah.
We're doing this, and what all has happened, because it's really 3 or 4 dominoes.
Yeah.
So then you can see a pattern of saying, oh, this is what this is going. I mean, when you go and add, oh, bail prices are up in Marion County. I said in Marion County. Bail prices are up.
Yeah.
And that's a fact, man.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. So we're looking at all these things. We don't elect our judges in Marion County. That's a fact. You know, when you look and say, now, there's a lot of stuff here that's only for predominantly Black people who are going through the system. You know, it's hard to conclude that that's not racist.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I like, well, yeah, that's racist. That's where that's going. And so when they interject, I'm sure there'll be another law in 2027, 2028. But don't lose the broader context. Take a look at it. And we have to call that thing out for what it is. Yeah. And it doesn't mean, well, you're soft on crime. I'm just like, no, I want it to be a fair shake. I want it, you know, I don't want somebody innocent jammed up.
Yeah.
Because we also know if we follow it all the way through, then if you go through that process, it's hard to come back out and survive and make it. It's hard to get that apartment and you got this thing on your record. It's hard to get to home ownership. It's hard to get to generational wealth. All of those things, dominoes, make it even more difficult.
Yeah.
If somebody's in something, wait a minute, that their white counterpart for the same thing would not be in. But we are, because we are a color, then it becomes difficult. Then we're going to turn around and say, well, where's Black home ownership? Well, heck, look at what the hoops they got to overcome.
Yep, that's true. That's true. Daryl, DMJ Morton, he says, Pastor G, share your thoughts on pulpit and political balance. What's your plan on to balance the two?
Well, I've been doing that. So I think that, I mean, obviously, you know, for Christians, it's about Jesus and him crucified, but also the Jesus that I know turned over tables and was upset about stuff. So he didn't run from social justice issues. The Jesus I know was liberating towards women and a whole bunch of other social justice issues. He wasn't over here being all men only. He was engaging people in ministry that most people in the society would say, why are you talking? Why Jesus talking to this person? Why are you dealing with the leper? Why are you dealing with this woman over here? He was doing social justice work. And I think there needs to be more balance in that we don't need to run from it. We need to be running to it and engaging it to help our people be informed.
Yeah. Yeah. Matthew 22:37-40. Is to love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. Jesus added that the second most important commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself.
Preach, Mary. Preach, man.
Stop it, man.
Take the text, man.
You a mess for that one. So let's look at this one right here. Cash bonds are processed directly through the court, and those rates have increased. For surety bail, you must go through a bondsman. The rate for surety bail has now gone up to 8% to make it more affordable for minorities. Additionally, Marion County has moved to an all-cash bail system. Thoughts?
That's what I'm talking about. It's going up. If I don't have a lot of money and I'm watching people living paycheck to paycheck, remember now, I ain't been found guilty yet. I'm just trying to post bail. Yeah. So, you know, and most people, you're going to need an attorney. I mean, that's what I'm talking about in terms of the finances behind this. If my job is $15 an hour or whatever, you know, you don't necessarily have money for an attorney. Bail went up, and I'm just defending myself. It doesn't mean I'm guilty yet, right? Because if I kill somebody, whatever, I didn't get bail anyway. So for these other people who are in this, what do they do? How do you balance that, giving grocery prices up, gas prices up, etc.? It's the affordability piece. You know, a slight increase is significant to somebody whose income is limited. It may not mean much in certain areas. If you balling like that, it doesn't mean anything. But for people who are on limited incomes, that slight increase matters because in reality, if you're needing bail, you probably need lawyer money because you don't want to be trying to defend yourself. Even when you're innocent, you want an attorney.
Absolutely. So where do you draw the line between personal belief and public responsibility?
I think that, for when you're serving in office, it's about the people. What is it the people want?
Sure.
Okay. And that's where that line is. You can have a personal belief about something, but if you're representing your constituents, it's what is it they want? Where are they at?
Yeah.
And that's where you need to be. In my opinion, I think part of our, there's been a number of things. Homelessness is an example. I don't think people as a whole, if they were voting on it, would say, I want to criminalize homelessness. I think if that went to a vote, that would not win. That wins because only a few people are making that decision. And that choice, they left the community out of it and said, this is what we're going to do. And that's too much of that happening, in my opinion, in the legislative branch, that people are just making decisions that will benefit a few, even around money and other stuff, that if the people said, if you listen to the people and said, okay, do the people really want to criminalize homeless people?
Man.
I don't think so. I think they think there are other issues in our system.
I mean, what's crazy, pastors, is somebody's family. It's somebody's family member. That's not just like a random individual that dropped out of nowhere. It's like we have I can't say this, but I'm believing that there's not a family that does not have an individual that has some type of issue. And when you get legislators that don't think like that, man, that's problematic. That is why we need certain people who still have a heart for people. Because when I look at this and I'm like, how in the world do you criminalize somebody falling on hard times? Like, that is insane to me. And hopefully in some time we can do something to change that, because I just think that America is losing her moral, well, I won't say she's had one, but I think her moral compass is getting worse. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's well stated. I believe that's true. And I believe there's a number of issues. If the people were voting, they would be like, no, I'm not with that. I mean, this past legislative session, I feel like it did not address people's concerns. People are concerned about affordability issues. We didn't do that. We did everything else but avoid it. We didn't really address utilities. We didn't address anything that was really germane to where the people were. Mm-hmm. They just had a whole separate agenda, all the way from the redistricting thing, which had nothing to do with Hoosiers.
Sure.
People were not asking for that. The president of the United States asked for that.
That's right.
Indiana didn't ask for that. That's a fact.
That's right.
And we spent time, money with legislators debating that issue, going back and forth, when we had no people. What are we talking about this for? I got other issues I'd rather see you address, whether it was Medicare, whether it was child care, these rural hospitals closing. Those people were concerned about those things. That's what we were concerned about. We weren't worried about redistricting. That wasn't even a thought. If it's up to the people, which is what I believe, you should be discussing things that's going to impact the lives of people, not your personal agenda.
That's
something
real.
Else, president or somebody else wants that don't even live in Indiana.
I agree. Let me see here. Let's ask another. Let's go here. So let's address the reality. You're not running unopposed. You're running against Demetrice Hicks, Kristina Moorhead, Kevin Short. What separates you from the rest of the field?
First of all, I appreciate the others that are running in this Democrat field. I would say what separates me is I've been doing the work. I have a history. Google me, you'll see that Pastor Greene, he weighed in, whether it was education, whether it was some social justice item, the lieutenant governor's 3/5 of a person comments,
We talked about that, by the way, when I was with him the other day. I rode, Pastor. I rode with Micah Beck, with Lieutenant Governor. I rode 2 hours north with him, 2 hours back, and we definitely talked about that. I'm definitely interested in hearing your perspective. But go ahead.
Yeah. So having done this work and know what it means to build and work in coalitions to make a difference, I have experience in it. I think that's what we need in this season, because you're still going up against a Republican supermajority. So you got to be able to know how to navigate. And we don't really have time to lose you trying to figure it out. You really need somebody who has some experience in working in these different areas, because all of them require some level of knowledge. Not that I know it all, but you got to know how to say, okay, if you're going to work in childcare, you got some relationships you can build off of.
Mm-hmm.
That needs to happen, and on down the line with all the other areas, healthcare, etc. So the biggest difference is Pastor Greene has done it. He's doing it. He has relationships across the spectrum, and he's the best one in this season, given where we are, because we're headed into a budget season next year.
Mm-hmm.
And money is going to be spent, and you got to get funding for childcare. You got to get funding for Medicaid, Medicare. You don't have 2 years to lose trying to figure that out. Yeah. You need to have a plan when you coming in. Once you're sworn in, before you're sworn in, here's my plan, and get to work on it, and that experience will make a difference.
So that's why you believe that is this why you believe people should vote for you?
Yes, that's why I believe people should vote for me. And I'm going to bring that moral lens. As I stated earlier, I'm committed to that. Mm-hmm. And I believe that can make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is a question that came from some people who knew I was interviewing you. They said, now you've been serving the community through your church. Talk to me about purpose of life and the impact that through your work, through the church, how it has impacted Indianapolis.
Well, I guess I begin with the academy, Purpose of Life Academy, when we built and moved to Kessler, because we were on Washington Street in 2002. And so I was committed to education. And so I truly believe then, I still believe now, if you want children to be successful academically, it starts in those early years so that they can go into kindergarten or first grade. They know how to hold a pencil. They have the basics. They know how to operate in a structured environment, etc. Because if you don't do that and you just drop this child in, then they're subject to get labeled and say, hey, they need some medicine and a whole bunch of other things, because they didn't have any of that. And they get managed in some schools out, right? Because some schools will say, we don't want that type of individual. And then, and I didn't want to be a part of that. I wanted to say, okay, let's do it this way. We teach English and Spanish. And so we're committed to education. So that's a huge thing that we've been able to grow and become nationally certified, NACE certified, Path to Quality for the state of Indiana, level 4. So we've been able to have high standards, do it at a high level. So that's a piece of what we've done on that side. We continue to work in this homeless space as well, grassroots meeting, people talking to people, helping people. So that's another portion of things that we do, consistently, have done consistently, continue to do consistently. We've been at the forefront when the apartment complex across the street, Citizens Gas, wanted to cut their water off, utilities off. We hosted right there on the parking lot. Hey, wait a minute, citizens, you can't, that ain't right there. And brought the powers to be along with the citizens to say, y'all hear from the citizens. We were just the conduit in between, if you will. So we've often stood, all through COVID, helping get items out, etc. So we've always been community minded. So it's all about being community minded. What does the community need? How do we pitch in and do our fair share? We continue to do, food giveaways.
And I've seen y'all gas stations. I've seen y'all at laundromats. I've seen y'all all over the place, man. Definitely in a time where the dollar is just not stretching. I can say for myself with my own too that I've seen you in places that most people don't think about. People don't think about what it's like when you have a washer and dryer for those who have to collect money to wash clothes. It's a whole different ball game. And I've seen you be involved in stuff like that. So for whoever, for that answer, I can also say myself that I've seen that you've been involved with helping people in the community through your church. So I can say that. My next question is this. So how does that experience with the people translate into effective legislation?
I think that in this season more than ever,
Mm-hmm.
you've got to, if you inform the people, I believe the people are going to galvanize. I believe that people, whether it's driven from the stress or some people saying this is just immoral, some people just saying they're tired of it, I believe people will come together to push and say, we want to see some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. When they're not going to buy into just hospitals closing or to this. What do you mean? How come we don't have this childcare thing? I mean, I think you can, like they've initially done it. I don't believe it can stay there in the sense of, because the more and more people are aware of it, they're all pushing back. I think that's what you're seeing. It's like, I think the LEAP thing is an example. All of a sudden, it's Save Eagle Creek signs are everywhere. Like township. Now that wasn't there a year ago, but that's there now. And I believe when you inform people and give them an opportunity, a platform, I think you're going to see people pushing, saying, okay, wait a minute. Because it's going to be, I don't know if it would surprise me to get to stay in office saying, yeah, I'm for, trashing Eagle Creek. I don't know if you can stay elected like that, Greg. I just think people have woke up and that will not work.
Agreed. So this is the part of the show, Pastor, and then we'll get through this part, and then we'll give you a few more minutes after that since we started a little late. This is one of my favorite parts of my show. It's called Rapid Fire, the Rapid Fire round. And in the Rapid Fire round, it's like, just short answers, just truth, just lay it out on the line. And we go through a few of them and just let you answer. And then, we'll ask a few more questions from the audience. So Rapid Fire, biggest issue in District 29.
Well, affordability is the biggest issue if you wrapped it up in one word.
Okay. Most misunderstood thing about you.
I think people don't. I guess sometimes they miss. They see you only in one perspective because they see a snippet of you, like on the news.
Sure.
So they don't necessarily know you to say, and what all is he doing? Because you could just form an opinion because, okay, there was a 30-second clip on a news thing. Because now you're in media, so okay, they talk to you. You might talk for 5 minutes. They're gonna pull out 30 seconds.
Facts.
And so somebody doesn't have context or that people can form opinions and be like, hey, and then not know you to ask you to follow up or whatever. They just formed an opinion because I saw him on the news and he said this or that or the other. Yeah. And so you didn't get to know the person to talk to him to follow up on it because, it's a media thing, right? Media can go,
It can build you and tear you down.
The thing I thought was most important is not there. It's something else that goes to, because they were shaping the story. So
yeah. One law you would change immediately.
That homeless one.
Yeah. Republican or Democrat, who needs more accountability?
Both.
Explain that. We'll give some time on that. Explain that.
For me, it's about we need to have accountability to the community. It's not. While there's the talks of a blue wave, etc. Okay, that's great, but we can't just go back to an old Democrat Party. We still have to be accountable to the community, to the people. And I think that's gotten lost. I think people get caught up in power and money, and they miss, wait a minute, this is about the people and how we move the community along, because we've got some major decisions that need to be made to help people. And we need to, and everybody needs to be held accountable to that. I mean, it won't matter if it's a Republican or a Democrat, and we still got this homeless bill. We still ain't getting out child care vouchers. We still ain't doing anything with utilities, and they just lifted the rates. If all that's still going on, what difference does it make if you got a Democrat or Republican there? We have to shift some of these policies, and that won't happen without accountability.
Sure.
Because legacy. Everybody to do it.
Okay. Legacy. What do you want yours to be?
It's probably not around politics, other than Greene stood up when it was extremely tough. He took a stand. He didn't run from critical issues facing our community, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, homelessness. He at least stood up. He said something.
Yeah. I have another question from Brent. It says, do you believe that it would be beneficial for all Black churches in Indiana to unite and establish a funded nonprofit organization aimed at providing economic support to minority families in need? When communities come together, the potential for positive outcome is significant, fostering greater strength and assistance for those facing challenges.
Do I would want to see it happen?
Yeah. Do you believe that it would be beneficial?
I do believe it would be beneficial. Realistically, though, we ain't coming together. Okay. Now, ideally, you're right. Ideally, I'm with you. I agree with you. And that statement, it gives you greater leverage, power. We could do more. I agree with you 1,000%. But realistically, Meriwether, I got to tell you, that ain't going to happen.
It ain't going to happen.
It ain't going to happen. You know, I hear it all the time. Well, can all you Black people get together? That ain't going to happen.
It ain't going to happen.
At least in, the foreseeable future. No, I mean, I'm dead wrong. Maybe something shifts, but at the moment, it's an unreal expectation.
Yeah, I agree.
But I like the idea.
Yeah. How can we effectively educate voters, especially engaging young people beyond the election season?
I think you got to be intentional about reaching out and engaging them to make sure that they're part of, and they don't fall into it don't matter, because this election is going to matter. If we buy into what the president is doing, that's a bad thing. It's a bad outcome. That's why he's fighting to make sure people don't vote, making it difficult. If we want anything, things beneficial, especially for people of color and for our communities, we need to engage our young voters. Now, I want since he brought that up, I want to add this. The governor came out and said, I'm going to put Turning Point USA clubs in high schools. They're going
colleges.
They're already in college. So they're going after young people. That side of the fence is over here saying, we're going after young people. We're going to train them up to be like Charlie Kirk and to be racist. And so to counter that narrative, we better figure out how to approach young people, educate young people, so they don't end up thinking that Charlie Kirk and his ideology, thought process is the way to go. Because they see, and what is that? That's intentional, right? That's the governor putting his thumb on the scale. That's being very intentional. Well, guess what? We better wake up and do the same thing, because they are training their people.
Yeah, and honestly, I felt the need to ride to that event because I needed to see it. So I went to a Turning Point event with the lieutenant governor to hear what was being said. You're absolutely right. They are being trained. They're definitely being trained. And we went to Trine University right in Ingalls, right a little north of Fort Wayne. And
how was it, Mr. Meriwether? I don't want to hear about it.
We'll talk about it. I'll give you my book report.
Okay. All right.
We'll definitely talk about it. So, Pastor Greene, I want you to take some time, look directly in the camera. I want you to tell the people, speak to the voters of District 29 and tell them why they should vote for Pastor Greene. It's on you.
For me, it's not going to be about policy. It's going to be about the people. I want to work with you and for you to make a difference here in Senate District number 29. We can move Indiana forward together. Now, we'll add this. There's a mean spirit in that Capitol. There's a lot of legislation that's mean-spirited. But I'm challenging you. Don't be mean and vote for Greene.
My brother, I appreciate you, man. Listen, we look forward to seeing what happens on May the 5th. I know you're going to be out there working really hard, but I appreciate you coming to spend some time with me and all the followers on Unmitigated Truth. Thank you so much, Pastor.
I'll come back anytime.
I got you, man. I appreciate it. And get on out there. I know you're going to be working today, so I'll see you out there.
All right. Take care.
Right, take care. Thank you. All right, y'all. That has been Pastor Greene. I'm glad that we had the chance to bring him on, because when it's all said and done, like I said, we bring people on, man. We give them an answer is an answer. An answer is an answer. Not answering is an answer. So there you have it, raw, real, unfiltered. This is what democracy looks like when you actually hear from the candidates. To the people of District 29, the choice is yours. May the 5th is around the corner. I want to thank Pastor Greene for coming on the Unmitigated Truth. Make sure you follow, subscribe, and share the conversation on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And remember, we don't water it down. We give it to you straight. I am Gregory Merriweather, 317 all day. Y'all know I love y'all. And it's been the Unmitigated Truth. Tomorrow, we're gonna have Brother Gregory on. He's going to be Greg Patrick. He's going to be running for sheriff in the city of Indianapolis. We're going to have him on tomorrow at noon. So make sure you tune in to that as well. Share the show. It's been y'all's brother. Have a great one. Peace.